Hey guys, welcome back to the Dad Experiment. Today we're going to be doing some dad versus mom, basically difference between dad and mom and what dads do during a pregnancy compared to maybe what moms do and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that it's a complete different ball game.
Yes.
Mom versus dad it's a wild ride on that part.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So let's go into whenever you're planning to have kids, the first thing that me and Crystal did after we got married is we started looking at kind of what were her life goals compared to what were my life goals.
Yeah.
Really, I think before we had kids, we wanted to make sure we were completely on the same page.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah.
You got to be.
Yeah.
If not, it's a world of pain after that.
For sure. For
Till
sure.
you get it under check.
Oh, definitely. Did y'all have those conversations though?
Yeah. So we did. Our goals were kind of similar in a way, because the way we were brought up. I mean, small town. We went to church together.
Yeah.
Grew up, both parents in the home, both had multiple kids. So we kind of knew that we wanted to kind of keep it that same little, scheme of things.
Yeah.
'Cause it was working. I
Yeah.
mean, we knew what our life was like. We knew that that's kind of the regular family life.
Yeah.
So some of those goals that we had set for ourselves were already goals that we were living
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. We kind of, I think out the gate initially was like our short-term goal was like to get our own house,
Okay.
to get settled before we even really wanted to even start talking about having kids. Right?
Yeah.
Because at the time we were living like a little 700 square foot apartment and it sucked. Like we just needed something bigger, right? And then even after we got up into a house, we were like, our lives are just too crazy.
Oh yeah.
And so we kept kind of putting it off until we got out here into the country and things were slower and we could actually kind of do stuff. Then we really started talking about, okay, are we going to have kids? I mean, I was already well into my 30s at this point. And so I was, well, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it soon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
the other big part, I think that even in that preparation, one of the things that me, even during our dating life, because I know you and Lindsay, y'all were together when you were super young. Y'all started dating
17,
super young.
18 years old. I mean,
and so we had to talk a lot about, like, even before we got married. I think that's the reason why I dated her for like 4 years before we got married.
make sure it was going to work.
Yeah. Well, I had to kind of check her values and, kind of check, I didn't grow up with her. We didn't go to the same church. You know what I mean? We met, like I said before, I was 25 years old and so I had to kind of figure her out and see, what are her religious beliefs? What are her, how does she want to raise kids? Kind of that whole preparation thing.
Yeah,
Before I could really even propose to her, because I didn't want to get into a marriage
for sure.
and just have all that struggle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for us, kind of the opposite. We went to the same church for a little bit before because I had a buddy that went to church with her.
Yeah.
He'd come to church. He'd come to my church one day. I'd go to her church one day, kind of thing. So we kind of, got together on multiple occasions, even before we were dating.
Yeah.
And then, we were 16. We knew each other 16, 17 years old.
Yeah.
We started dating 17, 18 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got married at 21, 22. So I mean, we had, a couple years in the middle of that, where we dated and all that. But I mean, our goals before having kids was, more of a financial starting point, a career starting point. Like we wanted to be kind of stable in that before we got going.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because I mean, we had already got through the knowing each other phase.
Yeah.
So, and we were young. We were 22 years old, you know. So I mean, we had just got into these kind of so-called careers. We didn't even know if it was going to stick or not, you know.
For sure. Yeah.
So, that for us was our kind of goal mindset was financial stability, career stability.
Yeah.
because we had already had some of the bases set up.
Yeah.
You know, we just kind of grew up together like that.
For
you
sure.
know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I think most couples, I mean, if you're our advantaged and you did kind of grow up together, it's probably a lot easier to figure out. But those were some awkward conversations me and Crystal had to have, because I know, like, especially in that early stage of relationships, you kind of don't want to step on toes. You're kind of light on your feet. You know, you're kind of just, you're trying to keep the magic there and everything.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, if you're truly committing to someone for the rest of your life, whether you're going to get married to them, whether you're just going to be a partner with them or whatever, I mean, if you're going to make the commitment, especially to have a child with them,
that's huge.
that's a lifelong commitment.
Yeah.
You're going to be raising that kid forever. I don't care if they're 60 later on down the road.
It's not
They're
an
still your
18
kid.
thing.
No.
It's a forever thing.
Exactly.
You were
And-
stuck.
And so you're going to be dealing with this person the rest of your life. And so you got to kind of really, you know, figure out exactly where, you know, what you're dealing with,
Yeah.
I guess, is what it kind of comes down to. So that kind of flows into whenever we, I think I kind of made the commitment when we were getting closer to having kids, it started to spark in my mind a little bit more on, you know, okay, I'm bringing a kid into the world. What kind of relationship do I want to have with my wife when that child gets here? I know a lot of people don't have that idea. But I know at one point, like, I'd read a book at one point during her pregnancy, I believe it was, and it was talking about modeling the household that you want for your children and showing your spouse love and all of those kind of things.
Yeah.
And so kind of as a growth thing for me, I started to try to figure out, how am I going to treat my wife in front of my children so that they know what a loving husband, what a loving dad to their mom is.
Yeah.
So that, for one, my son can model it. He knows how he's supposed to act. But number two, so my daughter knows what to look for in a man before they make that lifelong commitment with him.
Yeah, for sure.
So did you go through any discovery kind of like that whenever you were getting ready to have kids, or before or after? Or
Yeah, well, you know, man, one thing that I always looked at was I wanted that respectfulness to really be a huge part. You know, because, you know, growing up in the olden days, you always hear that, you know, the husband, you know, makes the rules, the wife follows them, kind of thing.
Yeah, is that true?
That's not true. That's not true.
Not true at all.
I think they were lying back
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
We know who ran that household.
Well, you know, the women were just walking around behind their back going, yeah, he thinks he does. Anyway.
Yeah. So that respectfulness, man, that was a huge thing. I wanted them to see that mutual respect that we had
For sure.
for each other, because to me that was a key factor
Yeah.
in, you know, accomplishing a lot. Because if you don't have respect for each other and you got that backbiting stuff going on,
Yeah.
that just doesn't lead to a good outcome in your relationship,
Yep.
especially in front of your kids. That, and, you know, we've probably talked about it, but transparency.
Yeah.
You know, always keeping those kids right there to see what we're going through and what is happening in the process of, you know, coming into life as having kids and stuff.
Yeah.
You got to have that openness
Yes.
to where they can see that, you know, they should know that they can go to their spouse or their loved one or whatever.
Yep.
And know that they have that, you know, that confidence in each other.
Yeah.
So that relationship of respectfulness and transparency was key for us.
Well, and it's kind of funny you bring up that whole transparency thing, because that's one of the things that we're very adamant about with our kids, that if something happens, like, you know, Bristol has an issue with school or something like that, like, we all sit down as a family and we talk through that issue, or we talk through that thing.
Yeah.
And I like that fact because, for one, it brings about, she knows, and, you know, I'm sure as Caden gets older, we'll go through the issues too, but it's almost like they know that we're in their corner, that we support them, but we're also going to hold them accountable. They can't be crazy. There's still going to be accountability there. And so with her, I don't want her to be scared later on that, oh man, my parents are going to find out. I would rather her be like, well, I need my parents to find out so we can work through this thing. Like, she's not scared to come to me about something because she knows that we're going to help her, and we're going to help her as a family. It's not going to be like just a her and mom's secret or a her and dad's secret. Like, we don't do that. We kind of lay it all out and let everybody know what's going on. That, appropriately.
Yeah.
Certain things that,
yeah.
You know what I mean? As my kids get older, there's gonna be things that my daughter's probably gonna deal with that my son don't really need to know about just because he's too young. I get that. But vice versa, whatever. But that is something that being open with your spouse, I think it starts there. If you can't expose yourself completely to your spouse, or your significant other, or whatever, then how are you going to do that with your kids, and how are you going to expect your kids to do that with you?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. I mean, it's key to having that kind of relationship, to show them from the get-go.
Yeah.
With your spouse, that kind of grooms them into what they're looking for. They're going to try to become.
For sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Cool.
So,
all right. So let's look at. So we decide we're going to have kids. And so kind of the man view against the lady view, the woman view, the mom view, the dad against the mom view on building the family. So did y'all have discussions about like how many kids you wanted?
Yeah.
Or
yes and no. I mean, we had this discussion that, I knew for sure that I wanted 2 kids.
Yeah.
2 kids was the minimum that we could have. And because, you get those single parent kids, man, it's just like, there's something wrong with that kid over there.
I don't know if it's necessarily wrong.
Well, I just know a couple, okay? Yeah. But yeah, no, so in all reality, I wanted that sibling relationship there.
Well, did you have a sibling?
Yeah, I had a younger sister. She's 4 years younger than I am.
Got it.
So I mean, at the beginning, we had that really good relationship as brother, sister, growing up, young age.
Yeah.
Then we kind of went through that, junior high, high school. She did her thing, I did my thing.
Yeah.
And so that kind of broke off. But then now we have an awesome relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, so I want that for my kids. At least to have a sibling to share their life with, you know. Sure. I mean, but I really left it up to my wife after that.
Yeah.
I wanted 2 for sure.
Yeah.
I told her, look, whatever you want to do is fine by me. You want 2, you want 3, you want 4, you want 10. This is your deal,
Tug her.
I mean, yeah, for reals. But
you'd be sitting in a corner just going,
no more.
That's weird.
Because I knew that it was going to be something that was more difficult for her.
Yeah.
Because moms are always, no matter what we say, how great a dad we are, how boss we are, they're the
You've been in there, man. When
they're the
doing
ringleader.
That thing.
Yeah. So I mean, I was cool with whatever she decided on that part. But we both had that agreement, like at least 2. If something happened and we had a 3rd or a 4th, okay. Yeah. But she made the decision after our second kid, son, that 2 is good. We're good. She cut it off. Let's go.
Yeah, we kind of. I mean, we had my daughter. I was 35, and so I was already kind of later in life, and really after we had her, like whenever we had my son, I was 39, so I was starting to push 40, and we had the conversation of it's either now or never. Like, I was prepared to have one and be done and be like, okay, we have a daughter and we're great, good job. And whenever we finally got pregnant with my son, I thought it was we thought it was a girl. Chinese calendar, everything said it was another girl. I was definitely like, I'm done. Like, either way, I'm out. Yeah, if I'm another girl.
And then, I'm not walking my walker down to graduation after this,
I didn't want to pay for 2 weddings, man. So I said there. Yeah, they find out he's a boy. I'm like, I'm definitely done, bro. I curtailed it. So I was like, and after we got through a year of his life, and I knew he was good and he was healthy, then I made sure that was it. Like, I'm done.
Yeah.
And so, but we never really went through that conversation of, okay, yeah, we just want one or we want 5 or whatever. We kind of organically happened. It was more of that initial one that we had a conversation about. And then after that, it was kind of I think honestly, I had to get to that internal, and my wife probably to a certain extent, we had to get to that internal place where, because you kind of question yourself, can I handle another one?
Man, and that's a real question.
Yeah.
I mean, kids are hard. They're super hard.
Yeah.
And it's like, you get that first one, and just right when you get to that sweet spot, like they're starting to be cool, then you're like, you want to do this again? Like, hold on now. Like wait,
right,
hold up. Time out.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I'm kind of, well, and talking about the wedding thing, you take on a whole new line of financial burdens whenever you bring a kid in, especially like me and you both. When you bring a girl in first, holy cow, they got like, I swear, there's like 10 suits of clothes for every one boy clothes. There's like 10 suits of girl clothes.
Yeah.
Or like there's 10 pink things compared to one blue thing, right? There's like, and so to a big extent, you get slammed with this wave at the beginning of all of this baby crap.
Yeah, and there's so much
completely, you don't know whether you're going to use it or not, and that kind of thing. And like me and you had a conversation about diaper pills, right? So like my daughter, we used them. And by the time we got to the boy, I was like, I'm out. Like, I don't need that thing.
Whoa,
I'm going to use a grocery bag and hang it up in the garage or something and then chunk it at night every day because I didn't want that thing brewing in the nursery.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man.
It's
I
terrible.
remember like kicking that out the dog door.
Yeah.
Here we go. Let's get that out of here.
Exactly.
We'll get that later.
Exactly. But I mean, you take on, especially like, both my kids, and I know you guys didn't breastfeed that long, and so you get into the formula and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff gets expensive, man. And so, that's something to really take into consideration whenever you're going to have that first child, especially. I mean, the second child, you kind of use some of the same stuff. I ain't gonna lie, my kid, my son used some bottles with some pink ribs on them and stuff.
Yeah,
I don't care.
Nobody's seen that.
He doesn't care.
I got the blue ones to go out in public. He's using pink ones at the house, dude.
Yeah, I mean, and luckily, a lot of the baby stuff that we bought was somewhat neutral, gender neutral. So it really, he could use it as he was growing up, and it didn't look like, your daughter is so cute,
Yeah.
You really couldn't tell. And so that was one way that we kind of saved money.
Uh-huh.
And that's a good way to save money, especially if you don't know if you're going to have more kids, is if you do some general neutral stuff, especially for like your public stuff.
Yeah.
And something that another kid can grow into.
Yeah. Man, I know like bedding.
Yeah.
A lot of bedding. We had a couple customized stuff, but for the most part, we saved money on that.
Yep.
Man, my sister was a blessing for us when we had our son because we got all the hand-me-down stuff. But, like you were saying, one thing that I always noticed was Sunday morning, Camille had a new dress.
Yeah.
Case has been wearing the same dinosaur shirt 3 weeks in a row, like Dad over here, same polo that he wears every week. But it's like, but Camille, she got a new dress. And don't get me started on how are you going to afford the bows.
Dude, that's no
gosh,
joke.
bows is like...
Yeah.
I don't even know.
We literally made my daughter, it's like a carousel, and it has these ribbons down it. And the thing's like, I swear it's probably about 2.5, 3 feet tall. And it's just, each one of those ribbons is just bows stacked on top of each other. So she can spin it and pick out the bow that she wants, and the whole thing just spins around.
Oh, yeah.
It's ridiculous. And then she still has like these like canvas like bucket things that are just stacked with bows in them.
Yeah. We've got like a 6-foot
ridiculous
mum, like high school mum.
Yeah.
And they're all hanging down the side of it, and you're like, where did that shit come from?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, did y'all take out another mortgage on the house to buy all these?
I know. I'm wondering if there's like a secondary market for bows that we could maybe, maybe we could put them on like eBay or something.
Yeah, peddle that on Facebook or eBay.
You never know. You could buy ammo with that stuff, dude. Seriously.
One of those give ups from having kids. We're gonna get that back with bows.
Yeah, we're gonna trade back to it. Well, I mean, eventually they're going to grow out of them, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, for sure. I mean,
you know, my daughter, it was funny whenever she was super young, like all the way up until like first grade, I constantly, like, she always wanted me to do her hair. And I mean, I got pretty good. Like, I was doing, like, you know, Rey from Star Wars hair. Like, I was doing some pretty
nice.
cool stuff. And then all of a sudden, and, you know, when we did bows and stuff like that, but then she just clicked one day and she's like, I'm wearing my hair down. And just, that was it. She just wanted to wear her hair down all the time. And I ain't gonna lie, man, it kind of made me sad.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm getting kind of good at this.
yeah, yeah.
I
Finally perfected that
nailing
braid.
this.
Dang it.
You're gonna back out on me, man. Like, I'm finally getting a good trade. And anyway, but now she's kind of going. Well, she's in cheer now, so now she's kind of going back into the bow thing.
Yeah,
And so, but now I'm kind of out of practice, and so it's like, okay, Mom,
yeah.
high
See
five,
ya.
your turn.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah, I mean, I could do the one braid thing. You know,
Yeah.
I wasn't talented enough. You know, it's
Yeah.
like,
you're like the Floby guy,
yeah,
or like the vacuum dude.
yeah,
where you
that's
just
yeah,
go,
yeah, exactly, yeah. It's like, hold on, just a second.
yeah.
All right, slip that over there. It's like she gets to school. Dad got you dressed this morning, didn't
Yeah,
you?
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So, did you guys have any conversations about schooling and kind of what was your opinion compared to what was your wife's opinion on where you wanted to try to get your kids to go to school?
Yeah, and this is just a recent conversation for us because, you know, my daughter just started kindergarten, so it's been on topic for like the last year now.
Yeah.
And so I was raised completely public school from kinder to senior. I'm not a hoodlum by any means. Most people
Ain't no
think,
lie, you're good
you
at
know. But my wife, she was elementary, early junior high, public school, and then she ended up going to a private school, Christian school.
Yeah.
And so, you know, for her, she was, you know, really pushing that private school where I was like, you know, let's go public school for one, you know. Again, the cost type
Yeah.
thing. I mean, you gotta realize how much private school is, you know, nowadays.
For sure. Yeah.
So we kind of made a compromise, and we ended up going with a charter school. It was semi-public, semi-private, you know, but our basis was really on what's the best education.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's what it boiled down to. If we would have really discerned and thought about it and said, you know, private school, she's gonna get that better education.
Yeah.
100%, let's go. But we felt like we had good teachers, we had good people surrounding her at this new school, so let's give it a shot.
Yeah. That's kind of what drew us. So me and my wife, both public education. And then for our kids, we wanted to, like, out the gate, we knew we were going to try to put them in some kind of private school just because of the smaller class sizes
Yeah.
and a little bit more hands-on attention and that kind of thing. Not because our kids had any kind of learning disabilities or anything. I wanted them to get good instruction, and I wanted them to, if I could afford a better education than what I got,
Oh, yeah.
I felt like to a certain extent I owed that to my children. If I wasn't in the financial situation to do it, I couldn't do it. I mean, it is what it is. But because we were in that situation and we could provide that for them, that was like one of our main goals of, you know, if we can do it, we're going to do it just because I want to give them every advantage we possibly can.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
always
going
trying
to
to
college or
better
whatever.
your kid.
Exactly.
You know? And
Yeah.
same thing with college. You know, I mean, college nowadays, trying to pay for college, you start looking, it's like you better start saving when your, you know, kid is
Another
born.
house, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so,
True.
you know, you're jumping into the private sector already.
Yeah. I'm hoping they'll get a scholarship.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
It's
like-
like, that's when we had that conversation. I was like, maybe if we pay for it up front, then they'll get a scholarship. We'll have to
Yeah.
pay for it in the end, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's
It's
a
some-
hope. It's a hope. I mean, you know, schooling nowadays, you want the best for your kids. You want to push them to get that good education.
For sure.
And I felt like I had a really good education. It was just, there were certain things that I felt like nowadays, some of the education stuff in public school is suffering. And I'm sure private school has that some of those sufferings too.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, nobody's perfect by any means, but you want to try to attempt and afford the best education for your kids. You want to you always want to give them better than what you had.
Yeah. Well, and two, I mean, you know, it really wasn't going on whenever Bristol started school. But by the time my son started school, all of this craziness going on with different school systems and everything else, I was kind of like, I'm really kind of glad that we are in the situation where we can kind of get them into a Christian-based school that is kind of insulated from some of that stuff. Because, you know, one of the main things, especially as my kids are young, like that we've been really adamant about is trying to protect their innocence.
Yeah, that's hard nowadays.
The world, especially with, you know, devices and everything else.
These little cell phones, you know,
it's
social media is out
hard
there
to try to insulate them from
harmful content.
The world, you know what I mean? That's truly what we're living in right now.
Yeah.
So, but kind of talking on that, have you guys done anything to like start preparing for your kids' college?
Yeah, man, we've so the funny thing is we've always put back a little bit of extra for education, you know, cost for future. But our real big ticket item was, man, we're at a daycare for one kid now.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all know what daycare costs nowadays, but it's pretty high. So, you know, that was the nice thing. We got her out of daycare. We got a raise at that point. We put her in a charter school, which was in between public, private, didn't cost us anything.
Yep.
And so we're taking that money and we've been living without it for 6 years now. So let's toss it up and put it into something that, you know, is going to benefit both of them. And then once my son gets out, same thing. We're just going to flood that in there and they can use it for either, you know, we talked about this on previous episodes, whether they want to use it for a trade school.
Yeah.
Whether they want to use it for college.
Yeah.
Whether they want to go out and just open up a business.
Yeah.
You know, or buy a business or something.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, we have taken some steps in place that we're really jumping in leaps and bounds now to get more funding for it so that we can afford them a good education
for
or
sure.
whatever they want to do. Yeah, for sure.
So is it like in a, I don't know the financial, is it like there's a 413?
So
what's that called? Where you can put money into like a savings account you only use for education, like after high school education or something like that?
Yeah, I'm not real sure. I'll have to look that up on that term. I can't remember which one it was, but it's kind of like a Roth / 401k kind of plan, but it's for any kind of education. You know, they can use it once they graduate. They can use it for college or trade school, or, I mean, I think they can even use it to buy business or start a business in some sense, tax-free.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's definitely something worth looking into.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, and so currently we just have it in a Roth IRA right at the moment, just, you know, multiplying a little bit here and there, you know, what we can. But you have to think about that when you have kids and decide you're going to have kids.
Yeah.
You really got to start looking even 20 years in the future of saving for those kids.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unfortunate nowadays that it costs that kind of money, but
it's, you know, I remember back whenever I graduated from high school, you know, we're talking back in the 90s. Show you how old I am. I mean, you could still get a really good job without a high school education or without a college education. You know, there was still a lot of good trade jobs out there, especially, I mean, we're in the middle of oil fields. I mean, you could definitely go get an oil field job. I had a buddy go out into the oil field for 2 years while he still lived with his parents, saved enough money to buy himself a brand new truck, and then paid for his first 2 years of college.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, you make really good money.
Yeah, for sure.
Nowadays, I mean, you have kids coming out, and I mean, it's either like work in a restaurant, go work in a really high hazardous position, or you got to get a college education to be able to really find something.
Well, and not only that, but nowadays it seems like the new college degree is the master's degree. You got to step
Seriously,
it up.
though, yeah.
I mean, you really do. It went from high school education got you a job.
Yep.
Then it turned into the early 2000s where you had to have a college education.
Degree, yep.
But now you're past the early 2000s here in 2023.
Yeah.
Man, you got guys out there that are requiring master's degrees to beat out these college, just regular bachelors to get that job. You know, it's a whole different ball game.
Oh, it is. One and two, like whenever I was a kid, I remember a lot of families, you just had dad working and mom would stay at home, or maybe mom would do she'd go clean houses or something, or, you know, she would watch some kids after school or something like that. Like she was a stay-at-home mom, and other moms had to work because like my mom was a single mom. And so like one of my friend's moms, she was a stay-at-home mom, but after school, she would watch us until my mom got off work or whatever. You know, I did that some of my elementary years. But for the most part, there were a lot of moms that were able to be at stay-at-home, right?
Yeah.
Nowadays, that's like impossible. Like,
Yeah.
it's like both have, unless if like you have one or the other that's like super successful.
Yeah.
You know, they make $500,000 a year or something.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
my
for
wife's
sure.
making $500,000 a year. I'm gonna be a stay-at-home dad.
Yeah, I'm sitting in the school
I'm
drop-off,
on it.
man. I'm trophy dad.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, donuts?
Yeah.
Yeah, coming right up. I'll be right back.
They'd be like that guy on the internet's like running everywhere,
Yeah.
doing all this stuff for his wife,
Yeah.
and she's just like gingerly walking. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
that guy.
What is that, Lone Star Mr. Mom? I'm
Yeah,
Mr. Mom. Here we
that's what
come.
I'm saying. But did y'all ever, whenever you're looking at jobs, right? Do y'all ever take into account the kids? Like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to take this job because I'm gonna have to be able to be off at this time to be able to be with the kid. You know, like some people can't work. Like, let's say you
Yeah.
work a day shift, and then you know your wife has to pick them up from school and do all this stuff. If you can't afford aftercare or whatever, and then and then she works a night shift or something like that. Because I know some people go through that
Yeah.
where they're having to do this like switch hitting and stuff. I know my brother for years, which you know he's an officer here, and he worked the night shift. That and my sister-in-law worked the day. You know, she worked during
Yeah.
the days. And so he would take them to school. He would be there to pick them up from school. And then, you know, she would kind of take care of them in the evenings after she got off, whenever, you know, he got ready to leave to go off to work.
Yeah.
Did y'all ever have to go through any kind of those hard decisions on?
Man, we were fortunate. We
Yeah.
didn't have to.
It's
we
awesome.
we both had really good jobs. My wife being in sales, she had some really good flexibility.
Oh, yeah.
And so,
sure.
which I mean, the guy that I work for, I've been working for him forever. I had that flexibility as well.
Yeah.
But it's nice because with her being in sales, she's always out and about anyway, so it works out.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the only thing that we kind of ever discussed was, you know, putting the kids in daycare.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of places now, daycare is so expensive that you have moms staying home because they're not being able to bring home enough money
To pay for
to pay for daycare without, you know, they're putting a $50 bill in their pocket when everything's paid for.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, we were fortunate. That was the only discussion we had was like, okay, if your job pays enough money where we got $200-300 when at the end of the month from your job from paying for daycare, and I get to keep the whole check from my work to put in,
Yeah.
we're good. You know, that was kind of our only really deciding factor.
Yeah.
So I really felt like we were blessed on that part.
Yeah.
You know, we both kept our jobs. We both worked full time.
Yep.
And she has more flexibility, but it just kind of worked out, you know. But I know that there's a massive struggle for a lot of families that have
Yeah.
to deal with that shift work or
For sure.
different scheduling and stuff. That's a hard deal with.
It is. Well, it's a decision that you got to make. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't want to, you know, bring a kid in, and then now we've got internal fighting between mom and dad because
Who's taking care of who?
who's going to step down, kind of deal. You know what I mean? And that, I mean, like me and my wife, we own a baby store, right? And so the first year of Bristol's life, my daughter, she kind of just hung out at the store with mom. You know what I mean? Like we set the counter up kind of like a big playpen,
Yeah.
and she just was kind of there, and no one could steal her. You know, it was
toy
like kinda,
tester.
yeah, you know. After a year, and she's up and about and walking, and you know, my wife was like, "Is she gonna walk out the door? Like, we can't do this no more. We got to find
Yeah.
some daycare or something." Because I was all over the place. You
Yeah.
know, we had other stores in other towns, and I was out and about and doing stuff. And so, you know, we had to make that decision at some point. I know I was, you know, too. I was very involved, probably more so than a regular guy working an 8 to 5. I was able to do other things, you know, get my kids up in the morning and get them off, and we didn't have to, you know, leave the house at 6 o'clock in the morning. Like,
Yeah.
you leave a little bit later, you know, because I was self-employed, and you know, my stores and stuff didn't open until later, and so it was
Yeah.
a little bit easier. But I've seen a lot of people go through those. Those are rough conversations to have because no one wants to feel like they're putting their career on hold or whatever because, okay, well, I got to make the sacrifice for having the kid. But at the same time, I think that's something that a lot of couples, before you have the kid, have the conversation. How are we going to figure this out knowing that you're going to, we're going to be able to do childcare, or if we're not, can we do like a deal where you're at home during the day and you work a night shift or, you know, that kind of thing. That's a hard conversation.
You got to really work that out before you start thinking about kids for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's big responsibility. But speaking on that, so let's look at the flip of that. If you're not going to make that money, were there any sacrifices that you and Lindsay had to make whenever kids came along?
Yeah, you know these sacrifices. You know, it's like no more gun buying, no more range time.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
cut back on the golfing.
Yeah. Hanging out, after work with the guys, kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, you give up a lot. Sacrificing, me and my wife were talking about this earlier. You give up money, you give up free time, personal space,
Corvettes,
motorcycles, the whole shebang. Man, you really do. And I mean, I would give those up again for kids, but you don't realize the actual amount of sacrifice that you do for your kid on that level of anything, hobbies or whatever it is,
Yeah. I think you do it first.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, oh, this sucks. Because you kind of have these grand plans in the back of your head, like before they come. And then once they come, you're like, well, that's messed up. I can't do that now. Like, I can't buy that boat, or I can't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it's like, I think you do kind of go through a metamorphosis, though, because like later on, you're kind of like, it really didn't matter. You know, like, it was kind of well, that would have been cool.
Yeah.
But I'm not really
upset
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, one thing I always thought about too was like me and my dad go to the gun range from time to time.
Yep.
And after having kids, when you had that sacrifice of giving up some of those things, it became more of a reward when you got to do those things.
Yeah.
So, I remember going to the range all the time before kids.
Yeah.
And it was just a running through the motions kind of thing.
Yeah.
But now it's like, man, I really enjoy it. It's like a
treat,
sweet, salty treat that I like, here we go, it's like
going to Dairy Queen.
Yes.
Yes. Blizzard.
And so, I mean, I appreciate it more now because I don't do it as often.
Yeah.
So I think it kind of actually worked out in my favor.
Oh, yeah.
As well as the kids. I mean, giving up that sacrifice for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I said, I don't think it really hits you.
Yeah,
it didn't hit you as hard like later on. Like you don't really, it's kind of an afterthought to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But you're right. When you get to do it, you're kind of like, whenever I get to go play golf or something, I'm like, ooh, I get to, to go do this. You know what I mean? Like, it's a cool thing.
I know I sulked about every now and then, we'd go play, some of the guys would go play golf or go shoot and go hunting or something like that.
Yeah.
And I couldn't go because, she wasn't feeling good or they weren't feeling good. And I'm sitting there like at the house, like everybody's asleep. How come I couldn't have gone?
Yeah, right.
I mean, I know I sulked about it but I mean, hey, at the end of the day, I had to sacrifice something.
Yeah,
that's no big deal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, whenever Lindsay was pregnant, let's kind of get into the roller coaster. Let's talk about the roller coaster.
Okay, let me hit you with something.
Okay.
So, what is the funniest thing you remember before we even get into this? Because we'll cover it at some point, I know. What's the funniest thing you had going into, during, or after the pregnancy? Like, what's the one thing that you remember that sticks out? Man, I've got one, and I know it's a tough question, but think about this.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is I remember whenever my wife started like sleeping on the couch, and I thought it was weird, but she would sleep on the couch because she could sit up while she slept because she kept getting acid reflux and stuff. And so she would always be sleeping sitting up. And I remember the first couple of times I'd come into the living room because the way our couch was, it like faced the hallway that went to our bedroom. And it freaked me out every time because I think there was like somebody on my couch, so I wouldn't remember that she wasn't in the bed with me. And I'd be like, what the
yeah, just scare you to death in the middle of the night.
I mean, she didn't, we didn't really have any like super craziness going on. Like, what did What
So-
agility?
So for me, it's more about me than it was her.
Okay.
So it was kind of this. I'm not an emotional person. Like I
Yeah.
mean, I have a good time and I'm happy, sad, like everybody else. But I'm not super emotional.
Yeah.
I remember I'm sitting in my lazy boy, and this was pre-pregnancy. This was right when she finds out. I remember she comes into the living room and I'm sitting there watching the game. I'm sitting there just relaxing. She walks in and she says, I have something to tell you. And I'm like, yeah, what's up? And she's like, I'm pregnant. I was like, oh, that's cool. And she was like, so like, that's it? Like, that's what I get? And so I'm like, awesome. Yeah, here we go. And she's like, well, okay, I guess we can talk later. Bye.
Just like high five. Okay.
Yeah. Good game.
Did she go through any like weird craving phases or
Oh,
anything? Or
She didn't do the weird like pickles and mayonnaise or,
yeah.
peanut butter and string cheese, nothing like that. I mean, she was a saltine cracker eating sucker, though.
Bless you.
I remember waking up at 2:00 in the morning and eating, what are you doing over there? Eating saltine crackers. I just got to...
He's like a little mouse like
yeah,
that.
yeah. So, I mean, like, I didn't ever have to get up. I know she always gave me crap about, she said that she wanted Rice Krispies and I wouldn't go get her Rice Krispies.
Yeah.
I don't remember that, but,
Yeah.
she does,
Yeah,
but...
yeah.
But yeah, saltine crackers were her thing, man. And she's not a salty person. She's a sweet person.
Yeah.
So, it was really kind of a weird thing. That was
Yeah.
her weird thing.
Yeah.
That I...
Crystal didn't really ever go through any weird. Like I remember during our daughter's pregnancy, she always wanted blizzards.
Okay.
And I remember being down in South Texas working at one of our stores, and I called up a buddy, and because I talked to her on the phone earlier, and she's like, "Man, I really want to get a blizzard." But I mean, at this point, she was probably like a month out. Like she's not going
Needs to be
out.
staying.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's like, I'm there. And so I called up another one of my buddies, and I was like, "Hey man, can you go grab this blizzard real quick and just run it by to her?" And he did that, and she was like, "Oh, that was awesome." You know what I mean? And it was awesome on my buddy's part. It was awesome, on my part because
Yeah.
I'm remotely, laying my hand out.
Yeah.
And so that was a really cool deal. But yeah, I never really. I mean, I had some friends that were talking about, I don't know why my wife wants sardines. Like that's so disgusting. Like I'm lucky that I didn't have to go through that.
Yeah. We never got into anything weird like that. Not that I remember. And if it was just a real quick craving kind of thing.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Some of those things are weird.
Yeah. The main thing I remember too is like starting to have to do other stuff. You know what I mean? Like kind of up before we had kids, me and Crystal, we kind of like either did dinner together, like made dinner together, or we kind of like switch it. Like if one was running late, the other one would go ahead and start dinner or something, and vice versa. I know that once my daughter came along, I stepped more into a role of doing dinner more often.
Yeah.
Like just me doing dinner for the whole family instead of, me waiting on her, like switch hitting or doing whatever. Starting to do actual like laundry.
Oh man, this sucks.
Yeah.
It's like,
but I mean, even to this day, like the funny thing is like kind of our routine is she loads it and then I fold it.
oh, see, I'm not allowed to fold laundry in our house.
Are you not?
No,
You just jacked it up.
I
bad,
jack
huh?
it up bad. Like crooked towels, like try.
How do you do
fold
it?
them up like
How
a
do you-
triangle.
How do you do it? Like you need to teach me. Like I need to learn this.
Yeah.
Please, master.
Yeah. So you start here, you crumple.
Yeah, that's the problem is I think I'm the only one in our house that knows how to fold a fitted sheet.
Oh, see, I'm out. I'm out.
So she's like,
Lost me.
"You're on it."
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I'm like, dang it. But are there some
Yeah.
odd jobs you didn't do whenever you were married compared to whenever you had kids? Or?
The food thing was just about identical with y'all. She cooked dinner. I'd cook dinner. I like to cook. I mean, I've always liked to cook.
Yep.
But once we had Camille, our daughter first, it's hard to feed the kid and cook. Even as they get older, it's harder.
Yeah.
But I would take on more of a cooking role at that point. I'd always be grilling outside, or I'd eat, and I got good at cooking other things too. I like to cook. I like to learn to cook different things.
Yeah.
So it was nice. but I did that. But my main thing that I always did was I was the dishwasher bottle boy.
Yeah.
I mean, I was the water boy here
Yeah.
over here. That's some high quality milk. But every night after everybody was asleep, I'd run in there and be washing bottles, getting them ready, and getting them ready. And sometimes even for our son, we wised up. We got like 35 bottles.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the trick, guys. Buy more bottles. They're expensive, but it saves you in the long run.
Yeah.
And you can use them for kid number 2 or 3 or 4.
It's just like plates, man.
Yeah.
You get around the plates.
Yeah.
Or silverware.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'd be washing bottles at night. I'd be like you said earlier. We didn't do the whole breastfeeding thing for very long. It just didn't latch for us.
Yeah.
So we were formula kids, and so I'd be loading the formula containers and everything for the morning.
Yeah.
Where she walked in the morning, she put these 3 things in the backpack, and off she went.
You were basically like that guy with the CEO wife running around. Like,
Yeah. I was being Mr. Mom, getting her ready for the next day.
Yeah.
Because I felt like it was only right.
Yeah.
It was something small that I could do that eased the burden off her.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah. Well, and
as much as I hate washing dishes.
Well, I mean, honestly, our trade-off was she kind of took the night shift.
Yeah.
With, both kids, and then I kind of took the day shift.
Yeah.
So I was the one actually taking them to school. I was the one usually picking them up from school.
Okay.
So like everything during the day, that way she could sleep in the morning a little bit and didn't have to worry about trying to feed anybody or anything like that. I remember vividly, and at some point I'm going to post this picture down in the comments, but my daughter, whenever she was like a year and a half, maybe, I mean, she wasn't quite talking yet, but Keelan used to come over to my house in the mornings and we'd run inventory and stuff. And she's literally sitting in her high chair, waiting to get food, like with her arms crossed, like sitting like a mafia boss, just looking pissed off. Like, why are you in my house? Like,
it's breakfast time.
And she would mean mug him every morning. Like, don't steal my, our stuff.
Yeah.
Like, she just mean mugging him. He'd be like, what did I do, bro? Like, I'm just here, man. It was hilarious, but yeah, man, I got a great picture of that. I'm gonna have to throw that out there.
Yeah, for sure.
It's I'll try to edit it into the video or something, man. It's awesome. But so with that, did Lindsay kind of like through her pregnancy, did she kind of go through any kind of emotional roller coaster stuff where she's like, she's throwing stuff at you, or like trying to kick dogs, or
as much as I'd like to think that it was, but it really wasn't.
Yeah.
I'm the typical husband. I like to push buttons.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, we're sitting there and we're going on about our business.
She's not the Pillsbury doll.
Yeah. No, she didn't find that funny at all. And so for us, she wasn't like a terror emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
She got kind of snappy at me, but it was because she was ending her pregnancy in the middle of Texas heat summer.
Yeah.
And
she just kind of cranky.
Yeah.
Anyway,
she was like, I'll murder you in your sleep if you keep, making me go outside to watch you work on something or bring you something to drink. I'll kill you.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it was pretty chill. I mean, she had her moments, but I mean, you couldn't. Okay. Yeah. In one ear, out the other. No big deal. Anything that she said that was hurtful or anything like that, which I can't even think of something that she said that would be hurtful, because it was that insignificant at that time, because I knew that there was a lot going on. Yeah. So, no, I mean, I know that there is some women out there that just like go crazy.
Yeah.
It's like,
Crystal never went crazy. There were a couple times where she would snap back at me, and I'm like, where the heck did that just come from? Like, what?
Why are you mad at me?
Well, and I would have to kind of, like, I would try to process and, like based on what she had done in the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is whenever I really got into reading about, like, the man's role in pregnancy and that kind of thing. Because I'm like, what did I do here? Like, and starting to understand how hormones affect them and all the other stuff, and how, you know, they change, right? They kind of become this different monster going into the pregnancy. And then it's like they got another 9 months to get out of that monster to come back to where they were before.
Yeah.
And so you got to kind of learn how to, you know, just kind of let it roll off your back. And I know this isn't you. This is the hormones talking. You're just, you know, and I can only imagine, you know, like if you're, especially whenever they get towards the end, where you're like, just get out of me. Like, I'm done.
For sure.
I can't. My back hurts. My legs hurt. My feet hurts.
Yeah.
My head hurts. Everything hurts. You know, my bladder hurts. Like, I got to pee every 5 minutes, you know, all that stuff. You know, I can only imagine being in that kind of discomfort, you know what I mean? And so, you know, at first, whenever the hormones started changing, I took it kind of personally, like, you know what?
We didn't know
what
was going on.
You want to go?
Yeah.
That's what we're doing? You want to go? And then
square up. Let's go.
Kind of after I started learning what she, you know, more about it, then I was kind of, okay, she's not doing this out of malice, or she's not doing it because, you know, she's really PO'd at me or whatever. She's doing it just because, you know, she's emotional, she's agitated a little bit or whatever, and she's, you know, I can understand. If you're throwing up every morning and stuff, you know, I'd be a little pissy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Have that acid filling your chest all the time. You know, it'd be terrible. Yeah, I can only imagine. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, let's get on to probably the man's worst thing to talk about that no man ever wants to talk about is diapers. Were you the diaper man?
So,
or were you the...
No, I wasn't ever the... Well, I'll say that I wasn't, but my wife will say I am.
Yeah.
But for our daughter, I was leery on changing diapers.
Yeah.
I did change diapers, and I changed my fair share.
Yeah.
But it was not something that I was happier to do or proud to do.
Yeah.
Now with my son, take him outside and water him off with the hose. You know, you're good. You know, come on.
Wipe him down with a wipe. He's fine.
Yeah. The pink white balls from Harbor Freight. Here we come. I did my fair share of changing diapers. Was not my favorite part by any means.
Did you do the first one?
Yeah. Well, so my I think we both did the first one. Yeah, and that is...
It's like tar.
Yeah, it's rough. Like, it's like, oh, I don't know what that is, but...
The smell wasn't terrible. I don't remember the smell.
I don't think it's smelling at all.
It was just like tar.
Yeah, it would not come off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, like, we need some cleaner.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Some degreaser.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, after, like, well, I mean, for Bristol's, like, first year, like, if she was in my company, I was changing her diaper.
Okay.
Like, the only time my wife really changed her diapers whenever I wasn't there and she had her. And that's pretty much for my son mostly. I mean, I think by that time I was like, I'm done with diapers, man. I'm tired of doing this. So I kind of make her every once in a while. But yeah, especially whenever they start hitting, like they get out of the whole milk and formula phase and start actually eating
that real food. Ooh. Yeah, that's when you start gagging it up. Yeah, that's rough.
You can still smell it. Like, I can still smell it. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Like, that's...
And then back to that diaper pail deal.
Oh, God.
Oh, man, that's a stench of death there.
Yeah, well, that's why on the second one, you're throwing the bags out in the garage because you're like, I ain't leaving them in my house, man.
Yeah.
People come over, they're like, oh, it's like you walk into somebody's house that has a cat. And you're like, oh, this is a cat house because you smell the cat. You're like, oh, you got kids.
You got kids.
I can tell.
Yeah.
I can tell. That's
where are those little kids running
around?
That's
peas, isn't it? That's peas and corn, isn't it?
It's like ketchup. Onions.
Ketchup and French fries.
Oh,
maybe some chicken nuggets. Okay, so, one of the things that me and Crystal do is we are not scared to show our affection for each other in front of our kids. I'm not saying like we're making out like an 80s,
for sure,
romance movie or something, but
my wife's completely against PDA, so I'll be lucky if I get a kiss out.
Kids,
like leaving out the door, giving a kiss or whatever, she's good with.
Yeah.
But like, I know that my son has seen me because, slap her on the butt when I walk by, and now he's like slapping her on the butt. And I'm like, whoa, hold on now.
Hey, buddy.
Back up,
And he will square up.
Yeah. Hey, watch out.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, for instance, like for us, like, let's say like a Saturday morning or something, I'll cook breakfast and then my wife will come out and, give me a long hug.
Yeah.
And I'll kiss her on the cheek or whatever, and before she sits down to eat or whatever. But I'm not like, not in front of the children,
Yeah. Yeah, they got to know that affection part. I mean, you show your kids affection.
Yeah.
You got to show your spouse affection too.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah.
Well, I want my kids to know that, if you truly do love somebody, you're not going to be scared to show your love for them in front of your children.
Oh, yeah.
Or in front of your parents even,
Well, and if you hide that goes back to that transparency thing. If you hide that from the kids, they may think that that's not normal when they get into a relationship later on that like, hey, look, you back up, my parents are sitting over there kind of thing,
Yeah.
Which, I mean, like you said, we're not making out by any means.
No.
But like, saying you love them, give them big hugs.
Well, it's giving them the
thing.
same hugs and
for sure.
cuddles that you give your kids. You know what I mean? Like,
I think it's important for them.
Yeah. Well, I want. They know how much I love them by how much I cuddle them and sugar on them and stuff. And so I want them to see that kind of same physical contact with my wife and the cuddles with my wife and the sugars with my wife. You know what I mean? To where they can be like, okay, it's the same thing going on kind of situation, instead of, mom and dad are like,
good morning,
hi, how are you? Kiss the baby. Okay, see you later. Bye. You know, like,
no robot Dylan.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
And not that everybody's different.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But there's a time and place. I get that. You're not going to be in the middle of the mall.
Yeah.
Oh, I love you, baby. Like, that drives me crazy. See, like teenagers in the mall.
Yeah.
That are like, like little girl sitting on some dude's lap, and I'm like,
it's like, make your
parents, dad was here right now, he'd be whacking that kid, man. Like,
make your parents disappointed in that room over there.
Exactly.
Get away from us.
Exactly.
My kids don't need to see this.
Yeah. But I think more than anything, it's in front of my kids, I really try to show kind of respect and reverence for my wife.
Mm-hmm.
That she is the other partner in this situation. I know we talked about kind of last episode. I'm really bad about deferring decisions to my wife.
Yeah.
But
Rush your mom.
yeah, exactly. But at the same time, there's a lot of times where my kids will ask me, like my daughter or someone will ask me, hey, can I go spend the night at such and such's house on Friday or something? A lot of times, those decisions, I don't go talk to your mom, go ask your mom. I'll be like, well, me and your mom will talk about it. Because I don't want my daughter to think that my wife just makes all of the decisions.
Yeah.
Right? Because my wife will do that too. She'll, we'll go ask your dad, and then she'll come and ask me, and I'm like, what'd your mom say? And then, that kind of thing. We kind of go back and forth on that. But if it's something that's like now, like, can I go down and do this thing? That's one thing.
Yeah. You ever play that game where like the wife tells the kid, like, go ask your dad, and you're like, go ask your mom, and then she said to ask you.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I know, just go ask her though.
Yeah.
And just like I play that. That's that one of those buttons I keep pushing.
Yeah, just go back. I'm not making that decision. Yeah. You make it. Yeah. No, not pretty much. If she does that, well, she told me to come ask you. I'm like, all right, let's go ask her.
Yeah. Let's go ask her. I need permission for that one.
And then I'll be like, hey, she was asking about this. What do you think? She looked up at me. I'm like, yeah, can't come back on that now. You got to tell.
Yep.
So that's kind of, but I think that's a huge deal. Again, as your kids grow up, I think as they go into relationships, they look back on their parents, on the relationship their parents had, or, if your parents aren't married like mine, I look back at kind of the highlights of my parents' marriages, right?
Yeah.
On, what were the best qualities that I saw in different marriages, even friends' parents' marriages. The best qualities I saw in those marriages were kind of the things that whenever I went into a marriage, and, same thing with being a father, there are qualities in other dads of friends and stuff that I saw that I was like, I like that. I want to emulate that as a father. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it's a neat thing, and I think it's a good thing. And so, I guess at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is, I want to give my kids the best reference points that I possibly can, so that they can go into relationships and then go into raising kids in the most healthy way possible.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Because you're trying to do your best. You want them to learn from that so that they can possibly do better than that
for sure
for their kids. Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, you're just trying to set up that legacy to get better and better and better and better everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And I think my wife's on the same page on that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, as far as trying to, she's looked at the things she's liked, and she's trying to emulate those and knock out the things she didn't like. And so I think, you know, at the end of the day, moms versus dads versus moms. I think the more we can get on the same page, the more successful we're going to be.
Yeah.
And
gotta have that united front.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
That makes it all work so much easier on that united front part. Yeah.
For sure. Well, I think we covered pretty much everything we want to cover. Is there any last things you want to talk about, or?
Don't be scared of them when they're pregnant. It's not that big of a deal. Just like look away. It's kind of like the lava monster on Moana. Just look away. Just go away. No, guys, it's easy, man. Pregnancy is cool. Pregnancy is fun. A lot of cool things during pregnancy. You learn a lot about your spouse.
Yeah.
I mean, you learn a lot. I mean, because that's kind of their most vulnerable moment.
For sure.
And I really think that like pregnancy brings you together a whole lot closer, because that's like a real critical time for them.
Yeah.
And, you know, they rely on you a lot. I mean, and so it's nice. Pregnancy is awesome. The aftermath of that, when you get to kids, is well worth any problem that you occurred during it.
For sure.
Man, their kids are a blessing. Pregnancy is a blessing with your wife. Enjoy it while you can, because, you know, if you're like us, we had 2 kids and we're done.
Yep.
So,
well, and I think, you know, moms, I think for the most part, a lot of moms can identify with this whole conversation we just had, because I think they're kind of trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
They're just doing it a little bit different way.
Yeah.
Which I think is okay, because you need a feminine way, a motherly way of doing things that, you know, dads pile drive kids on beds, moms cuddle on couches, right? And so I think kids need to be exposed to both of those things. And so the biggest thing is that you're making sure you're just coming together and raising those kids together and consulting each other, keeping each other in the loop, not trying to take off in one direction without taking the other one with you. That to me is the biggest deal.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to wrap here, dude. You good?
Heck yeah. Yeah, man.
All right. So make sure you subscribe. We're trying to get to 100 subscribers. Let's just try to do that out the gate. If you'll like, that'll help us. And if you guys want to leave a comment, if there's any topic, subject, anything you guys want us to cover, we're looking for stuff. We got a long list, but we're always willing to add to it and look at other things. So other than that, you know, thank you guys for watching.
Like, subscribe, give us a shout out. We appreciate y'all.
Thanks, guys.
Later, dudes.